This is a new segment called Greatest Impact. We're going to take a look at what could make the greatest impact to the XRP price. And today we're going to be talking about XRP Ledger for institutional DeFi. This is a really incredible thread. I had to go over it with you. Let's go ahead and start here. It's from Max Avery. It says the XRP Ledger is establishing itself as the infrastructure layer for institutional DeFi. Let's unpack why major financial players are increasingly choosing the XRP Ledger. The move to TradeFi to use on-chain systems is gaining momentum. Tokenized asset markets are already in the trillions, but a lot of blockchain networks still fall short on what institutions actually require for legal compliance, rapid settlement, and deep liquidity. So they're saying basically that banks need to understand how much they need to back up these assets if they're going to be getting into tokenized markets. What do they need to hold to back up these types of securities or stocks, bonds, derivatives? Do you need anything to back those up? That's what we're trying to figure out here. It says the XRP Ledger has already processed billions of transactions and was developed from the outset with institutional grade finance in mind. So when they built the XRP Ledger, they looked at Bitcoin, they said, hey, we can make this, and this better. And they knew who their customer was going to be from day one. Right? It wasn't something like Ripple thought they were going to go into the, person to person space and then wound up in the institutional space. No, they were in the institutional space from the start, and they still are, building surgically every single day. The XRP Ledger's automated market maker merges order books with liquidity pools. This system automatically identifies optimal pricing for institutions, or so institutions no longer have to choose between a DEX or an AMM. It both integrates. So this could be a cheaper way to do this as well. If you're not dealing with multiple different systems, multiple different fees, if it can all happen at the same time on the same place, that could save, billions, if not trillions of dollars over the next few decades. The clawback function addresses a major concern for institutions. In cases of stolen funds or compromised accounts, issuers can reverse a transaction. This isn't about central control. It's about fulfilling regulatory fraud prevention obligations. There's so many different ways clawbacks can help this new system. You cannot have a system where people can't be given money back for fraudulent activity, or even like returning something. And sometimes you return something and the manufacturer might not credit you and stuff like that. And then you have to call your bank and say, hey, I returned this. They didn't credit me. And your bank will go in and claw back that money back for you after they do some type of investigation. So this is necessary if you're dealing with institutions, because they are going to need that for their customers. By the way, I've got a free course that can help you become a crypto pro in under an hour. There's a link down in the description. Let me know if you're interested in taking that. Decentralized Identity, DID, has now gone live. This allows identity verification without centralized data storage. It confirms qualifications without exposing full personal details. So this is something I think we've all been affected by, right? I don't think there's an adult alive today that's been around for the last 20 years that hasn't gotten their email, maybe their social, credit cards, birth date, something like that stolen from one of these massive data breaches and leaks. And I'm sure some of you have some really terrible, horrible stories from when this happened to you and how it affected you. So I know there's some people that can really connect with this, and having our, full personal details not being exposed, hidden with cryptography. I think that's the way to go to keep everybody safe moving forward. Price oracles are natively embedded into the XRP Ledger. No external middleware required. Providers like Band Protocol and Dia supply real-time market data straight to the ledger. This allows assets such as tokenized real estate to dynamically track market valuations. So in real time, they can use these systems to see if there's any type of movement in price or square footage or a single area people are more interested in. Like, they're going to have a lot of data. And I imagine they're going to have AI and a few other systems parse the data and really give us a complete picture. The really cool thing about this is, right, you can basically take this anywhere into any field. Right? If you can figure out a way to put all of your research and material together, and you find ways to go through and sparse through it and pick the best stuff and bring it to the top, it'll save you a lot of time as well. One of the more significant features on the horizon is the permissioned DEX. This allows institutions to build private markets while preserving decentralization. Only verified participants can gain access, but no single authority governs the platform. So usually this is like, Ripples or some type of institution getting access through this. They need permission to do that. And it's not open to everybody, right? You would need to qualify to be a part of this. Multi-purpose token, also known as MPTs, addresses a technical inefficiency in bond issuance. Say you have two identical bonds with two different maturity dates. MPT allow each to carry metadata while remaining fungible. It's a cleaner solution for managing complex instruments. So metadata is basically just like what wallet owns the bond, when is it going to mature, how much is the payout, right? All of those little fine details that would be in like a contract. That is what we're talking about here in the metadata. Okay. The lending protocol will allow financial institutions to issue uncollateralized loans on chain backed by traditional underwriting performed off chain, and including first loss capital helps maintain institutional risk frameworks. I think this is going to be beneficial. Obviously, you need these different pieces if you're going to make all of this institutional DeFi work. The XRP ledger is introducing programmable features without overhauling what already functions. Developers can add functionality through extensions instead of starting from zero. Smart escrows are expected Q3 2023 with a broader smart contract supported by Q4 11/23. Obviously, we're getting to that point right now in 2025. The EVM sidechain provides a bridge for the XRP ledger's ecosystem to Ethereum's developer community. Solidity developers can port their code while tapping into XRP's liquidity and establish user base. So if there's people building on Ethereum and they feel that they could get more liquidity or a bigger use case on the XRP ledger, they can just port over, their smart contract and have it work on the XRP ledger using XRP. That's really cool. I'd imagine you're going to have a lot of cross-chain stuff too, right? Ethereum, XRP, and, all these other ones. So it's easy to see why institutions are leaning toward the XRP ledger. Built-in compliance, fast finality, 3 to 5 seconds, micro fees under a penny, integrated DEX, no gas bidding wars, legal clarity. I was in Sensei Chat. I was doing a live stream yesterday, and we were looking at a $1,700 Bitcoin transaction that had a $121,000 fee. That person probably would have saved money, obviously going to the bank and using Swift and sending Bitcoin. We also looked at something really interesting because people are asking, Sensei, is this really the new financial system? Because a lot of people say that Bitcoin is. And so I wanted to just look at some hard facts and data. One of the things I looked at was how many times a second can a Bitcoin network process transactions, and it's 7 transactions a second. Okay. So if you had 1 billion people using the Bitcoin blockchain and the billion people used it on the same day, the people making the transactions later in that day, it would take 4.5 years to process all those transactions. So this is not the network of the future. You look at Visa can process up to 50,000 transactions in a second. Bitcoin can do 7. So just some food for thought there. Institutions have been wary, of DeFi due to compliance risk, technical challenges, and lack of regulatory decision. And the XRPL mitigates all of these three, and those while preserving core decentralized functions. Most institutional grade platforms are theoretical, while the XRP ledger already has a major financial institutions building real applications. You can see SBI, Santander, Standard Chartered, deploying systems, and so many more. The market for tokenized treasuries is also expanding fast and will require systems to meet financial regulations. XRPL's AMM and clawback mechanisms support that at scale. Scott Bessent, Treasurer of the United States, has gone and said this many times that he believes the path forward for America's dollar dominance is going to be through stablecoins. America's looking for a new person to buy its debt. Other countries are becoming even more weary as bond prices are still slipping up out of control. If we can get bond prices kind of cooling back down, I think things would really start to move in the right direction again. And I think most of this stuff could settle once this whole trade stuff is worked out. And hopefully that happens pretty soon for us. The credentials framework will let institutions verify KYC checks without revealing personal data. So they can say, hey, is this person actually KYC'd? And then it says, yes, they KYC'd, and they don't have to give them their KYC information to show that they are already KYC'd. This means eligibility can be confirmed without compromising privacy, compliance that actually respects our security. Tokenized assets often struggle with liquidity, but XRPL's AMM changes that by providing steady liquidity for all kinds of different assets from real estate, bonds, commodities, and markets stay open 23/7 with minimal slippage. 23/7? So 1 hour a day, it would be closed. Okay. Cross-chain pricing discrepancies are another challenge. The XRP ledger's integrated oracles maintain real-world value consistency across networks that reduces arbitrage inefficiencies, spread chasers, and increases pricing transparency. Institutional DeFi and the XRP ledger isn't working just to disrupt traditional systems, but rather create a secure, compliant path between legacy systems, blockchain native infrastructure. And we've seen a lot of data recently talking about how the XRP ledger can plug and play into these older systems. They've really built out the on and off ramps for all of this. The XRP ledger has supported institutional grade systems for over a decade. What you are seeing now is a continuation of that track record. While some networks are still talking about institutional readiness, XRPL is shipping those features in real-time functionality already in production. Institutional DeFi is here and is being built on a blockchain that's been purpose-built for this exact use case since day one. And here is Jazzy Cooper. She's also going to talk a little bit about institutional DeFi on the XRP ledger. I thought it was a good clip to have here.
RippleX is a distinct business unit within Ripple that focuses on the XRP ledger, the public layer one blockchain. So we participate with the XRPL in a number of different ways. My team, the product team, contributes to the core features and capabilities. So we'll design alongside the community, implement, propose new feature amendments for the XRP ledger. It works a little bit differently in that it's not smart contract based. So a lot of the new features are at the core blockchain level. Some other teams within RippleX focus on developer enablement. That can be either through programs like accelerators, incubators, grants, as well as through technical tooling. So client libraries, explorers, and a variety of different tools that can help the ecosystem of dApp developers build and launch their products. So that's really the focus on RippleX. We stand alongside other businesses within Ripple, that focus on other products such as RLUSD, custody, and payments, for example.
Is this EVM sidechain different from a private sidechain?
Yeah, so with XRP Ledger, there's the ability to create custom sidechains if you wish. And these are just like Ethereum, the EVM sidechain, it is fully distinct from the XRP Ledger. And with that, you can configure the settings as you wish. So I know this is a model that was used in the past for projects like CBDCs, where maybe you want a more permissioned environment or more controlled environment of who can use the chain, but it is entirely distinct from, public XRPL mainnet.
Are any of those transactions, while we may not know what's happening, are they counted towards the XRP mainnet or not? It's completely separate.
No, they're completely separate blockchains, not counted in any part of, XRPL mainnet consensus or anything like that. They're distinct chains that allow for bridging, just like any other blockchain. So we're working on a native lending protocol made up of a couple of different components, but it basically allows for fixed term under collateralized loans in V1 to be originated directly on the XRP ledger. So that kind of rounds out what I see as the kind of core pillars of bringing TradFi onto blockchain, which is support for payments, support for trading, and support for credit, which are clearly, some of the key components that make our TradFi system work today. If banks are willing to adopt some of these modern infrastructure components like blockchain and help remove inefficiencies and push on some of those cost savings to the borrower, reduce some of the inaccessibility that exists in our current credit system, then yeah, I think that's
I just wanted to show you this too. Decentralized identity on the XRP ledger just got activated. So this was back in October 30th, 2024. A building block for next steps, decentralized identity, credentials, permission domains, and permission dexes, etc. Here's a 37-second clip with the same woman. Let me play this for you.
So that's really our vision and our hope as we start to partner up with different interoperability players to really make the XRP ledger a hub for value transfer, so that it doesn't matter if you're transacting on Polygon trying to buy an NFT, or you're doing some advanced, DeFi strategy on Ethereum. At the end of the day, if you want to swap token A for token B using the right cross-chain infrastructure, that'll execute on XRPL mainnet and land back in your wallet without you ever leaving the chain that you're on, and executing at the fastest speed and lowest price anywhere in blockchain. So that's really our...
When I hear this, I'm understanding that the XRP ledger can be used to help out other blockchains, to help move value on other blockchains even faster, right? instead of using the Bitcoin blockchain, you can move Bitcoin on the XRP ledger for, way less money, as well as 3 to 5 seconds. So there's going to be a lot of other use cases built around this, and I'm really going to be excited to report on them to you. There's a few other things I want to show you here. I thought this was a okay clip. It says, has quietly built the foundation. They're already connected to major banks and financial institutions around the world. While most are distracted, XRP was being positioned as the bridge currency. So I like to, find new videos from new people and go through them with you and see what you think. Maybe it's somebody that you want to follow too. So let me play this.
Banks that are using Ripple's technology, because who wants to have somebody come in and say, hey, I would like to send some money over to Nigeria, and say, oh, okay. And then you got to use the slow ass system from y'all know where this is going. And then it takes 3-4 days to actually get your money from the United States over to Nigeria. When you could just move it in 4 seconds with Ripple's XRP technology. Money is moving in seconds versus hours and days. They are going to make a ridiculous amount of money. That's why the #1 bank in the United States is saying, pay us your mortgage in XRP. Banks that are using Ripple's technology.
I like the energy, man. I like the energy a lot. I also wanted to show you institutional DeFi and the XRP ledger, and the compliance burden on those institutions can be solved with AMMs plus DID. With the recent blog post ZKP, Zero Knowledge Proof, it is an important piece to enable those users as well. Exposing only minimum information on a public chain seems like a great middle path for those users between public and private. What I do miss is the stablecoin issuer that can handle large redemptions for the size of those institutions, and maybe the Axelar network integration in May will be helpful for that. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, too, guys, people are wondering, like, what other assets should you be researching right now? If you're new to this, here are some that I really like: XRP, HBAR, XLM, Algorand, Quant, XEC. I don't really have too many good feelings about these ones. Ondo, Link, Sui. Those are the types of assets that you should be taking a look at today. Guys, I've been in crypto for 5 years. I've learned what to do and I've learned what not to do. And I've put a lot of these key details in a course that's absolutely free for you. If you're interested, you can comment down below, Crypto Sensei, and I will give you a link to this free course. And if you want to take your crypto journey to the next level, you can think about signing up for my community, Cryptonaires. We got new aggressive pricing, and we got a lot of really amazing value that we are offering our members. Link down in the description. I'll see you guys. Aloha. All right, guys, that was it. Thank you. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Aloha.